had a steam hoist, wouldn't they?
Well, yeah, compressed air.
So would they have had
Yeah,
steam
he
going
had a
down
steam
that?
hoist.
Would they have had steam going down that service shaft?
They did have steam at the gym because in some of the early days they didn't have enough compressor. At the gym they had a steam pump down there.
Oh, a pump to take the water out?
Water on, yeah.
Oh, so
See,
they
they weren't connected to the mines like we were there. The company took care of all the water all over the hill.
so they had a steam line going clear to the
Yeah,
700.
that made the shaft hot. And so your man, that's what I understood, the heat and that, and then he apparently wasn't in good shape. I wonder, was he drunk? Because, Jesus, I wonder how he hit the wheel. Now I asked Dave, now Dave Curry is one at the wheel there, he was not drunk. But Dave had a habit of his mind going off. He was running the hoist and he said he heard this crash and he thought it was the compressor in the next room. And only then did he look out the door and see the cage crossways up in the gallows ring.
Yeah.
And Dave, because the Currys then, that was their fault for their interest. So Dave had me hire a carpenter and a ropeman from the hill. And they had to pay for it out of their share because they only had a quarter share, but it was their fault to wreck the gallows ring.
So an engineer who was on his toes, whether say with a steam hoist, how would he know that there was a cage coming up to prevent it from going in the gallows frame? There should have been an obvious way to stop that from happening, shouldn't there?
Well, yeah, but if he was an engineer, we used to put rope marks on the cable. And some of them had indicators as well, but with I worked for years with rope mark. We used to have a way of winding rope on them, like this, or we used to paint them on red lead. And so he's coming up, he's supposed to be west, and on a little geared hoist like that, run so slow like he had at the gym. Oh, I run so many of them. He could have told when he had them marks, that's how they worked it. Jesus, I think if he'd have waited till he had to pull in the shift and had the men on pulled in the gallows ring.
Yeah.
That happened in the early days too.
And was there a way for the engine to run away, the steam engine?
No.
And a way to shut it down if it got going?
You just shut the throttle off.
Shut the throttle off,
Yeah. And the steam engine had something the electrics didn't have. If you stopped the electric on that from going up, then that release and the weight of the cage go back down the mine again. And means that you had to have a safety set to brake. So after that, I rigged up a deal in the grind shaft by myself on my day off. I rigged a 4x4 down the shaft close to the surface, and I drilled holes in the dividers, put some bolts on it, and I put some coil springs. And then I shaved it, and then I put a block on the cage. And so when the cage come up, it pressed that 4x4 in. I had that about 16 feet long, and it dragged on that, and that made a contact. I had two copper contacts there, and that run a great big squawker right over the engineer's head and throw a big light on.
Now, when you first started at the Balaclava, there was an old Frenchman that told you the story.
He told me the story.
He was running the hoist at the Jesse back in 1902.
Yeah.
What did he tell you?
He told me that after a while that the Jesse there hoisting rocking, but they couldn't help. They didn't hear the exhaust going from the air. A steam hoist meets an exhaust, choo 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 choo,
from
just
the
like
gym?
a locomotive. Yeah. And he said it got bothering them, and he said finally they stopped. Of course, that wouldn't make their management happy either, because he's paying them to get rock out, not going around the hill. And they climb up to the gym, and they can't find anybody, and they heard steam escaping, and they looked and see the gallows frame was wrecked. And so they went and shut the steam off, and they found the boiler was ready to go. They got some coal in the boiler, and then they couldn't stay any longer. Then they went back. Then they come back up again, and decided one of them had climbed down. They climbed down. They found their man down there, and then they had to go get a rope. So one of the other guys, in the meantime, went over to the nearest other gal's mine that was working at night was the Sioux chief, and they knew he had a long rope over there, and they had to get a rope to pull the body out.
What was that Frenchman's name?
I'm trying to think. I think it was Boise. That's a long time ago. You're asking me now.
Okay.
Boise, I think. And yeah, but there's an engineer. We're not supposed to. Like if he was an engineer, he's used to that, coming up and stopping the cage with your mark. And then if you're looking outside, you only have a window. You could see the damn thing out there too.
Okay.
That was considered. Well, just if you hired a chauffeur and he took your new car and rolled through your garage and wrecked your car, that's the same as an engineer.
A pretty gross mistake.
Well, it's a fire, yeah, it's one that the management gets rid of you fast.
Okay. Do you think an experienced engineer, say, that was used to running 18 years of hoist engines?
He'd have to have a reason why he'd have to have a reason, like Dave, that his mind malfunctioned at that time, or he was drunk or something.
Yeah.
But management, you're paying him. That would make you happy, considering $1,000 you're going to spend to fix it up.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get some of these pictures. Pictures of balaclava on the right, on the left, the high ore. Then the specs kind of in the middle third. Sioux Chief, Tuolumne, Granite Mountain, Jesse, Jim, East Jim, and the Badger.
Yeah, up top of the Butte Hill.
Top of the Butte Hill. 1950. Al and his father John at which mine, Al?
At the Matt. Matt was under lease from the Anaconda Company.
How do you spell that?
M-A-T-T-E.
And where
No,
was,
M-A-T.
where was that at?
That was right in Meaderville, not far from the Berkeley garage.
What year would this be, Al?
That'd be in, this would be 60s or 60s, I guess.
That frame at the gym that Al built when he got the lease. And he was saying how upset the owner would have been if an engineer had put the cage through the wheels at the top.
Yeah, I went through that when my engineer took a
picture of the gym with the Speculator on the left in the background, and then what's behind it, Al? Is that the Granite Mountain?
Granite Mountain.
Right through the head frame, you can see the Granite Mountain. So this pretty well locates it right here. Again?
The gallows frame that the North Butte used was torn down by the Montana Tech kids or something up there, and so that's why I had to build one. And there was an old power line that crossed the property to the Black Rock, and the poles were laying there. And so I just got the bright idea. We had no money. Utilizing those cedar poles, that made it.
Had just a bucket hanging under there.
Yeah, because a bucket across it. But when we put a cage, see, I had to make changes up here. And I've got a fan there. We run into bad air.
Where was the bad air?
Coming from the 700. That's from oxidation of timbers and that.
Okay.
To the gym where I took the picture.
Yeah.
The bottom two are the 300 station. We went in there, and my partner and I, first we started mining and piling the ore on the station. We wanted to see if there was enough there to justify our trying to get money to get a hoist and all that. So for a while we worked there, like I said, just climbed down, climbed up, trying to get some ore there. And we didn't have no money for a compressor, so we had to drill with hand steel.
Do you think these are the old workings here?
I know they are. They're the old workings. It was from the time when your relative was there.
Be my great-grandfather.
Yeah. And working it. And the old timers were pretty sure of it. And, people talk about finding ore, but we found a lot of places you thought there was, but the old timers was pretty sharp. They pretty near got a lot of that ore. You know, you hear places where they left a lot of it.
Yeah.
I tried walking down, holding the candle like this, and I couldn't keep it light.
Yeah. It wouldn't stay lit?
No, the movement of my body, I didn't know how to carry it and shield it.
Because it's a zinc vein.
That was zinc vein, yeah, and silver.
Would they have been mining zinc at the turn of the century?
No, zinc was, you got penalized for zinc, silver and gold, and you had too much zinc, and smelters wouldn't take it, and they used to smell the penalizes for zinc.
So what kind of mine was the gym? Was it a copper mine?
Originally it was silver and lead and copper, yeah. Eventually high-grade copper.
Okay.
I wondered if that was the old one.
So this was the one the North Butte had in 1938, and it could have been the one from 1900, but you don't know.
No.
Okay. Was that concrete, that tube, or is that all timber?
No, that was corrugated iron.
Okay.
And you had to have that there for this reason. They had a fan there, and when you were hoisting rock, you had to have that door closed, because if you didn't, the fan would suck air from top instead of down, but from the shaft.
I see.
Can you realize that?
Yeah.
If you had the kitchen door open, and that instead of sucking air from the kitchen, it'd be sucking from outside.
Yeah.